students, have you all watched the movie Bahubali, which has stolen our hearts? We all were waiting for the second part because the first part ended with a suspense. The hero Bahubali was killed by his faithful slave Kattappa. Dear students, history is a chain of events. Last class, we learned the transition from a monarchical form of government into a constitutional monarchy. France became a constitutional monarchy. Today, we are going to deal with the topic, the transition from a constitutional monarchy into a republic. Louis XVI had signed the Constitution of France. He made a secret negotiation with Prussia. The neighboring countries too worried about the developments in France. They feared that this revolution spread to their own nations. They decided to send troops to put down the rebellion in France. Before this could happen, National Assembly voted and declared war against Prussia and Austria. Thousands of volunteers, they marched from the city of Marseille to Paris. On the way, they sang the famous patriotic song composed by Rocher the Leech. Later, this became the national anthem of France, Les Marseillaise. The revolutionary wars brought losses and economic difficulties to the people. While all the men were fighting at the front, women left to cope up with the task of earning a living. Many political clubs were formed during that period. The most famous and successful club was Jacobin Club. This name got it from the former convent of Saint Jacob in Paris. These political club members were the passive citizen. They were dissatisfied under the Constitution of 1791 because this constitution reduced them as passive citizens. Women were too active participants in the revolution. They formed their own political club. Most of the Jacobin club members belonged to less prosperous sections of society. They included artisans, dock workers, pastry cooks, and daily wage servants. Their leader was Maximilien Robespierre. Most of the Jacobins decided to wear long strip trousers that were similar to the dress code of dock workers. Jacobin club members, they were separated from fashionable sections of society, especially nobles. Nobles wore knee breeches. Therefore, Jacobin club members were also known as sans culottes, which literally means without knee breeches. In addition, Jacobin club members, they wore a red cap that symbolized liberty. Women were not allowed to do so. In the summer of 1789, Jacobin club members planned an insurrection of the Parisians who were angered short supplies and high prices of bread. They attacked the palace of Tuileries and killed the king's guard and hosted the king for several hours. Then National Assembly voted and imprisoned the royal family. Again, elections were held. Now all the men above 21 years of age, regardless of wealth, got the right to vote. The newly elected assembly called the convention. Now France became a republic. What is a republic? A republic is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people, including the head of the government. What happened to Louis XVI? Louis XVI was tried by a court and sentenced to death. He was publicly executed at the place at De La Concorde. His wife, Mary Antoinette, also faced the same fate shortly after. Next subtopic is the Reign of Terror. From 1793 to 94, referred as the Reign of Terror. Maximilien Robespierre was the ruler of France during that period. He followed a policy of severe control and punishment. Those who were against the Republic, including clergy, nobles, other political party members, and the members of his own political party, were arrested and imprisoned. Then tried by a revolutionary court. If the court found them guilty, they were guillotined. What is a guillotine? Guillotine is a device consist of two poles with a blade, and which the person is beheaded. This was invented by Dr. Guillotine. Robespierre government introduced many laws to maintain equality in the society. Meat and bread were rationed. All the peasants were forced to sell their grains to the market and prices fixed by the government. Churches were shut down and converted into barracks or offices. All the expensive white flour was forbidden. All the people were known as citoyen and citoyenne instead of sir and madam. He wanted to make sure that all the people of France enjoy equality. That's why instead of sir and madam, all the people of France were known as citoyen and citoyenne. But Robespierre pursued his policies relentlessly. Even his supporters, they were against him. At last, he was guillotined. After the fall of Jacobin government, a wealthier middle class seized the power. They drafted a new constitution for France and denied the right to vote for non-property sections of society. This then elected two legislative councils. This legislative council appointed a directory consisting of 5 members. Instead of power rested with one hand like the Robespierre, now the power rested with 5 members. But later, clash between directory and legislative council paved the way to the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, the military dictator of France. Next subtopic is, did women have a revolution? From the very beginning, women were very active in the movements which brought out many changes in the French society. They hoped that their involvement would pressurize the revolutionary government to introduce new laws to improve their lives. Most of the women from the third stage, they had work for a living. They worked as seamstresses or laundresses, sold flowers, fruits and vegetables in the market. They worked as servants in the houses of nobles or wealthier members of the middle class people. Only daughters of the nobles and the wealthier middle class members could study at a convent, and after that their parents arranged marriage for them. Compared to women were getting low wages. Many political clubs were formed during that period. Most of these political clubs were formed by women. Almost 60 political clubs were formed during that period. The most famous women's clubs were the Social Revolutionary and Republican women. These political clubs members, they demanded equal political rights as men. In 1791 Constitution of France reduced women as passive citizens and denied the right to vote. Therefore, they demanded equal political rights and hold political office. In the early years, the revolutionary government introduced many laws to improve the lives of women. Creating of state schools. Schooling was made compulsory for all girls. Marriage was made into a contract, entered into freely and registered under civil law. Divorce was made legal and could apply both for women and men. Women could now train jobs, could become artists or run small businesses. Dear students, One of the most revolutionary women of that period was Olympiade Gox. Olympiade Gox was one of the most important of the politically active women in revolutionary France. She wrote a Declaration of the Rights of Women and Citizens. Olympiade Gox criticized the Jacobin government for forcibly closing down women's clubs. Next subtopic is the abolition of slavery in the French colonies. French colonies in the Caribbean, Martinique, Guadeloupe and San Domingo were the important commodities of tobacco, salt, indigo, where they exported this to Europe. But Europeans were reluctant to go on war unfair land. This led to shortage of laborers in the French colonies. This was met by a triangular slave trade carried between Europe, Africa and America. The slave trade began in the 17th century. French merchants sailed from the ports of Bordeaux and Nantes. The slaves were to the African coast, where they bought slaves from the local chieftains. Branded and shackled, the slaves were packed tightly into ships for the 3 months long voyage across the Atlantic to the Caribbean. Then they were sold to the plantation owners. This slave trade carried to the French colonies. There was a shortage of laborers. To meet the shortage of laborers, this slave trade flourished during the 17th century. Many ports like Bordeaux and Nantes became flourished due to this slave trade. But National Assembly, they held a long debate whether it continued or not. But strong opposition from the big businessmen who earned profit from this slave trade, they opposed, and it was not banned. At last, in the year 1848, slavery was finally abolished in the French colonies. Dear students, I am going to wind up today's portion. Before that, summarize today's main points once more. France became a constitutional monarchy. Transition from a constitutional monarchy into a republic. Louis XVI assigned the constitution of France. At the same time, he made a secret negotiation with Prussia. The neighboring countries were worried about the developments in France. Therefore, they decided to send troops. Before this could happen, National Assembly voted and declared war against Prussia and Austria. The people joined the army. They marched from Marseille to Paris. The most famous and successful club was Jacobin Club. The leader of the Jacobin Club was Maximilien Robespierre. The Jacobin Club members, they attacked the palace of Tuileries, where they killed the king's heart and hosted the king for several hours. A new election was held and France became a republic. Next ruler of France was Maximilien Robespierre. But his period is known as the Reign of Terror. Why his period is known as the Reign of Terror? Because he followed a severe policy of control and punishment. Those who were against clergy, nobles, they were sentenced to jail and executed. But Robespierre introduced several measures like meat and bread were rationed, white flour was forbidden, churches were shut down and converted into barracks or offices. He pursued his policies relentlessly. Even his followers also opposed him. And finally, he was executed. After the fall of Jacobin government, a wealthier middle class seized the power, but the clashes between legislative and directive paved the way to the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. What are the steps taken by the revolutionary government to improve the lives of women? Creating of state schools. Schooling was made compulsory for all girls. Women could do trade jobs and run small businesses. Marriage was made into a contract, and under civil law, divorce was made legal and could be applied by both men and women. These are the steps taken by the revolutionary government to improve the lives of women. Dear students, This crossword puzzles help to understand more about French Revolution. A cross, fortress, prison. Do you know the answer? Yes, Bastille. French general who crowned himself the Emperor of France. Who was, yes, Napoleon Bonaparte. Author of Social Contract, Rousseau. Tax levied by church on the third estate, Thales. Device used to behead a person, guillotine. A club of French middle class, Jacobins. A great philosopher who inspired French people. Who inspired the French people, John Locke. A common day item taxed by the French people, salt. Yes, this is the answer of that crossword puzzle. Dear students, the important questions of this chapter. What were the causes of French Revolution? Political cause, economic cause, social cause, intellectual cause, and immediate cause. What were the ideas of French philosophers? Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Montesquieu, and John Locke. How did France become a constitutional monarchy? How did France become a republic? Write a short note on convention. The newly elected assembly called convention. All the men above 21 years, regardless of wealth, got the right to vote. Explain the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. While all the men were fighting at the front, women left to cope up with the task of earning a living. Justify the statement. These are the main questions of this chapter, and this timeline help you learn more about the French Revolution. The year is more important in the French Revolution. This timeline help you understand more about the years, the important years in the French Revolution. 1774, Louis XVI ascended the throne of France. 1789, the fall of Bastille. That is the beginning of the French Revolution. 1791, France became a constitutional monarchy. 1792, France became a republic. 1793 to 94, the reign of terror. 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte became the Emperor of France. Signing off, Sreekumar V.P.